side.
I never
Except
said
for
that.
mine.
And also, let me
And I
tell
don't
you
even know
something.
you.
You were talking about me.
About you.
One of the most stable couples on 90 Day Fiancé just vanished, and TLC won't say a word. What are they hiding? Loren and Alexei Brovarnik were the quiet heartbeat of the franchise for almost a decade. While other couples were throwing drinks or dodging court dates, these two were raising babies, building trust with viewers, and somehow doing it all on camera without destroying each other. And now, they've been completely erased. No goodbye, no send-off, not even a half-hearted we wish them well from the network that made them household names. Just silence. Not the kind that makes people curious, the kind that makes people nervous. Viewers started noticing it first. No updates, no appearances, no promos. Then something deeper started stirring. They weren't just missing from new episodes, they were missing from TLC's marketing altogether. Scrubbed from future cast lineups, deleted from forward-facing ads, not mentioned in the spin-offs they helped build. Not retired. Not replaced. Removed. Like someone upstairs decided their era needed to be forgotten, not remembered. And the couple? Completely quiet. No shady TikToks, no live rants, no messy AMA on Instagram where they accidentally spill tea. Just gone. This isn't taking a break. This is surgical erasure. On social media, fans asked questions. The most common reply wasn't drama, it was confusion. Did they quit? Were they fired? Is there a scandal we missed? But here's the thing. There's no smoking gun. No leaked breakup. No lawsuit. No paparazzi moment in Miami catching them storming out of TLC headquarters. They just didn't show up one day. And nobody wants to say why. And that's the part that's making industry insiders raise eyebrows. Because in the world of reality TV, silence doesn't usually mean peace. It often means power. Backroom calls get made. Emails don't get answered. Crew lists get circulated. And the names missing from them say more than any press release ever could. And according to multiple people close to production, Loren and Alexei's exit didn't happen overnight. It was a slow roll, happening just out of sight. Meetings, negotiations, then vanished. Not with a bang. With a delete key. It raises an even bigger question. If this can happen to them, the Golden Couple, one of the original success stories, who's actually in control of this franchise? Because it's starting to look less like a love story and more like a machine that feeds on familiarity, then spits you out when you're no longer useful. They played the happy couple for a decade. Then the door slammed shut. Not with scandal. Not with downfall, but with silence. And for a couple like Loren and Alexei, who gave so much on screen, that silence is deafening. They weren't background noise on this show. They were the show. From that slightly awkward, completely genuine first meeting in Israel to family dinners, anxious births, postpartum tears, and 3 beautiful kids, this wasn't manufactured chaos. It felt like the real-life success story TLC desperately needed to make the messier couples look like outliers, not the norm. Loren wasn't just another cast member. She was relatable, funny, openly vulnerable about things like Tourette's, motherhood, postpartum depression, Eve's struggles. Alexei, steady and low drama, was the perfect counterweight to the emotionally unstable guys we usually see on the show. They were safe, reliable, believable, and that's what made them powerful. They were the couple TLC held up as proof that this franchise somehow works. So why erase that? How do you go from building your brand around a couple to pretending they never existed? The answer, a few industry voices say, points to the one thing reality TV always pretends to ignore: contracts and cash. Behind the scenes, people close to production say Loren and Alexei finally started asking clearer questions. About money, about usage rights, about what percentage TLC made off their likeness versus what they took home. Basic stuff. especially after nearly a decade of loyalty. That's where the mood reportedly shifted. Because love stories might be romantic, but TV isn't. It's business, and nothing tightens a network's grip faster than a well-liked cast member realizing their value. Loren and Alexei had evolved. They weren't desperate for screen time anymore. They had a brand, a following, their own leverage. And in reality TV, leverage equals threat. The couple didn't explode, rebel, or walk away and blast everything. According to sources near production, they did something far riskier. They spoke up quietly. And quietly, the show responded. Not with raised voices, but with a closed door. When loyalty gets you silence, what does that say about the people running the show? Loren and Alexei aren't the first, and they won't be the last. The more you look, the more you start seeing a pattern. Quiet exits, no statements, no closure. One day a couple is on billboards, the YouTube recaps, the spin-offs. The next, wiped. And it's not the dramatic ones always getting cut. It's the ones who stop playing along. Remember Kalani and Asuelu? One of the most talked about couples for years. Then poof. Not even a weave decided to part ways with Grace Breadcrumb. They just stopped being included. No reunion tell-all. No exit interviews. No foreshadowed edits. Just air. Same with Paul and Karini. Although their behind-the-scenes became chaotic later, their removal happened with the exact same silence at first. TLC didn't lean into the mess. They hit mute. Fans were left digging through court records and patchy Instagram clues because the franchise that built them wouldn't touch their story publicly. It feels strategic. Safer to let your audience speculate than to risk confirming something that might make you look bad or expose how you run the business. What makes this silence even stickier? Nobody talks. Not the cast, not production, not the network. And that's when those three big letters start hovering over every theory. INDA. If you're on TLC, you're under tight paperwork. One industry insider who worked on multiple reality properties once said these contracts are structured like corporate non-competes, except stricter. Can't confirm anything. Can't deny it either. Can't even tell your followers you've been removed. And when you stack these disappearances side by side, the picture stops looking random. It starts looking like routine. A playbook. TLC doesn't announce who's cut or why. They don't need to. They know silence speaks. And loyal fans? They're counting the missing faces and starting to ask the real question. When reality TV refuses to give you real answers, what's actually real about the show? If enough beloved cast members go silent at the same time, maybe the silence is the story. They gave the network their love story, their first home, their births, their breakdowns, and even now, they're not allowed to speak. You sell your life for years and still can't say goodbye? That's the kind of contract loyalty buys you in this game. Not freedom, not flexibility, silence. Most people watching at home don't realize how tight these reality TV contracts can be. It's not just about showing up to film or being told where to stand. It's about what you can't do. You can't do interviews. Can't take brand deals without permission. In some cases, you're not even allowed to talk about why TLC stopped calling you. Platforms you built yourself, Instagram, YouTube, merch, still fall under the network's grip if you started them during your run. These aren't partnership deals. They're ownership blueprints. And the price of breaking them isn't just getting dropped. It's legal threats, fines, even lawsuits. That's what makes this silence so chilling when it comes to couples like Loren and Alexei. When people ask why they don't just speak out or spill the tea, they're skipping a very real fear. You want to protect your family, your finances. And in contracts like these, even an Instagram caption hinting at tension behind the scenes could be used as breach of agreement. So instead of clarity, you get strategic distance. Photos go dark, questions go unanswered. And over time, the algorithm forgets you ever existed. These contracts don't just manage content, they control narrative. And because the public doesn't see them, the imbalance looks optional. But it's calculated. You film for years. You build a brand under their lens. And when the spotlight turns off, you're not even allowed to hold your own press conference. If you leave quietly, you might keep your dignity and your savings. But if you talk, you're on your own. What kind of reality are we watching when the cast isn't even allowed to speak their own truth? Every tweet, comment, and reaction post you make about a couple is tracked, not just to gauge what you love, but to decide who lives and dies in the 90-day universe. Because in TLC's house, your engagement is currency. And once the numbers dip, so does your screen time. No matter how loyal you've been or how long you've played the game. Loren and Alexei were never clickbait. They weren't throwing chairs or sleeping with the nanny. They were steady, relatable, and, dare we say, healthy. But in a reality show fueled by highs, lows, and chaos, that kind of stability becomes a gamble. The network knows what sells. And healthy habits don't get people arguing on Twitter at 2 a.m. So when fan sentiment starts showing less OMG and more awe, TLC sees that as a problem, not a strength. Behind closed doors, they have tools to measure this. Engagement grids, sentiment charts, episode heat maps, tracking when viewers click out. If your couple's graph starts to look flat instead of explosive, someone in a conference room quietly decides your chapter's over. And the most twisted part? If your fans don't stir up drama, that lowered volume can be used against you. You become predictable, less compelling. Translation: you're too peaceful for prime time. It's not about the love story anymore. It's about volume. The fights that go viral. The scenes people argue about in the comments. The explosive breakups that trend on Reddit. If you're not delivering that, your value shrinks, even if you've given the show your life for years. That kind of system doesn't reward trust. It punishes it. It invites chaos because chaos means attention, and attention means advertisers. So when someone like Loren or Alexei stops being engaging enough, it's not personal, it's strategic. It's survival of the messiest. Problematic couples are bankable. Quiet ones are replaceable. No matter how much heart they've poured into the brand, no matter how many fans feel comforted by their journey, the decision always comes down to one thing: metrics. At what point does a franchise lose its soul chasing numbers it used to earn with real connection? Loren gave birth on screen. TLC ghosted her off it. That's the part that sticks. Not the missing promo. Not the absence from a cast list. But the fact that someone who let millions of strangers into one of the most intimate, painful, beautiful moments a human being can live through was later treated like old footage in the archives. No mention. No farewell. Just cut, like a bonus scene they didn't need anymore. And this is where the conversation shifts. This was never just about Loren and Alexei. It's about how reality stars, especially the ones who give the most of themselves, are treated as seasonal content. The same network that once greeted them with open arms now acts like they're an expired product. You become background noise the moment you stop trending. It's not personal. Hell, that's the scariest part. It's policy. Think about the emotional whiplash. 1 year, your life is part of a multi-million-dollar franchise. The next, your name is scrubbed from the pitch decks. And for the fans, this isn't just disappointing, it's unsettling. People spent years watching Loren cry into her pillow, panic at doctor visits, struggle with postpartum, fight through anxiety with cameras 3 feet from her face. She showed everything. And to have all of that ended without even a goodbye? It's jarring. Like being told your investment didn't matter. TLC controls the stage, the music, and the lights. They decide whose story deserves closure and who just disappears between episodes. And when someone like Loren, who actively invited the world into motherhood, love, and struggle, is frozen out with not even a 2-second clip in a retrospective, that's not editing. That's erasure. And fans feel it. The silence isn't just weird. It's offensive. It's a reminder that even the most genuine journeys can be dropped the moment the audience engagement graph dips below a meeting room average. If reality TV can ghost someone who gave birth on air, what's stopping them from ghosting every fan who cared? If Loren and Alexei aren't safe, no one is. These two checked every box that the franchise supposedly values. They stayed together, built a family, showed growth, weren't abusive, scandal-prone, or headline-hungry. And still, they vanished. That sends a message louder than any sneak peek or trailer drop ever could. No matter how hard you play by the rules, this game doesn't reward stability, it recycles for ratings. So, what does that do to the people still in it? Imagine filming your entire relationship under a microscope. Knowing the moment your storyline gets too calm, you might just get the silent goodbye. It makes drama a survival tool. Why take therapy seriously when a screaming match gets you a spin-off? Why resolve issues privately when the real currency is chaos? Over time, even the most genuine cast members begin playing caricatures of themselves just to stay in the room. And fans aren't blind. They feel it in the edits, in the sudden couple switches, the missing faces, the weird silence around former favorites. Every time someone gets scrubbed without explanation, it chips away at that suspension of disbelief holding the whole thing together. Why should anyone invest in these storylines when the good ones get deleted and the toxic ones get promoted like headliners? That's the consequence the franchise doesn't talk about. The trust leak. The loyalty drop. You can't keep selling real love stories when the audience knows the loving ones are the first to go missing. And TLC's whole branding strategy hinges on parasocial investment. Viewers don't tune in because the camera work is amazing. They come because they believe in someone's story. Or they used to. Every silent exit, every unanswered question, every favorite erased without context makes the next season a little less believable. And a little less watched. Even the most diehard fans are beginning to ask, are we watching lives unfold? Or are we just watching casting strategy in disguise? How long before fans stop rooting for couples and start fearing who's next to be forgotten? Behind the curtain, it's not chaos. It's control. Quiet, calculated, corporate control. And when you listen closely to former cast members and insiders who finally started leaking pieces of the machinery, a pattern clicks into place. You don't have to throw a tantrum or break your nunda to disappear from this franchise. You just have to ask the wrong question, at the wrong time, to the wrong executive. Several ex-cast members, without naming names, have all hinted at the same thing. You're not a partner. You're property. One of them once said in a live interview, our storyline wasn't even ours anymore. We were just following the version producers thought would get comments. And when another cast member who left the series was asked why they stopped filming, the answer was slower, more cautious. I wanted space to do things on my own. But that wasn't part of the deal. You could feel it in their pause. That wasn't permission. That was pressure. Even the contracts, now quietly shared in Reddit leaks and lawsuit excerpts, paint a picture of total ownership. Clauses blocking cast from monetizing their own social accounts or working with outside brands for up to a year after their final appearance. Entire sections that require silence, not just about filming, but about why they stopped. Legal language so tight, it doesn't just end your TV time. It ends your voice for months. Sometimes years. And all of it, allegedly, is designed to do one thing: protect the narrative, not the people. When a couple like Loren and Alexei reaches a point where they're widely admired and independently influential, that's no longer seen as an asset. It's seen as a risk. This system wasn't built to elevate caste to long-term success. It was built to rotate them out once they realize their value. Quietly. Surgically. And if you're still wondering why Loren and Alexei never explained what happened, maybe now you understand. It's not that they have nothing to say. It's that they're not legally allowed to say it. When everyone close to the process says the same thing, maybe we should stop waiting for proof and start believing the pattern. They built their life on camera. Then, the plot outgrew them. That's the emotional gut punch no one talks about. When Loren and Alexei first joined 90 Day Fiancé, they weren't drama magnets. They didn't come in with a revenge subplot, mystery baby, or explosive secrets waiting to blow up a tell-all. They came with optimism, shyness, chemistry. Real tension between two people taking an actual risk on each other. And the show needed that. At the time, it grounded the chaos. But now, that same emotional steadiness may have been what got them quietly pushed aside. In a franchise fueled by cliffhangers, cheating red flags, and screaming mothers-in-law, being too healthy becomes a problem. Viewers don't flood Twitter with support when couples are functional. They want messy. They want confrontations. They want mistakes they'd never make, so they can rage or laugh without consequence. And slowly, the Brovarniks stopped checking those boxes. They weren't imploding on screen, they were thriving. And in today's engagement-first algorithm culture, thriving doesn't sell. So, what happens when stability becomes stale? The answer isn't new. The camera moves on. Producers look for the new couple who can spiral on cue. They scan cast DMs for early signs of resentment, jealousy, toxic patterns. They don't hide it. Drama drives dollars. But what makes Loren and Alexei's case harder to accept is that they did everything right. They played along. They were honest, open, vulnerable. They fought, sure, but the right way. Productively. Respectfully. And because of that, they slowly stopped being clickable. Even their flaws were too grounded to go viral. Postpartum depression? Viewers respected how Loren spoke on it. Marriage tensions after a baby? Normal. Work-life balance while raising kids? Every couple can relate. But in TLC's formula, relatability without risk doesn't scale. You can be appreciated, but appreciation doesn't trend. Controversy does. And even now, fans are still rewatching clips of them together, wondering when the vibe shifted. There's no big betrayal, no sudden fallout, just this slow, emotional distancing that mirrors exactly what happens to the viewers who adored them. You get invested, you connect, and suddenly they're gone. No exit arc. No closure scene, just reruns and questions. The double-edged sword of reality fame is that once you become the beloved couple, you start walking a tightrope. Too real. And your struggles don't fit the storyline template. Too peaceful. And you get labeled boring. Stay long enough to show growth. And that growth can be the very thing that makes you unusable. Because in a universe like 90 Day Fiancé, arcs need openings and explosions. If the story becomes too emotionally balanced, it can't deliver the kind of numbers the machine now expects. Loren and Alexei weren't dropped because they failed. They were sidelined because they succeeded on terms the show doesn't reward anymore. Think about that. Success, real, raw, slow burn success, became their liability. They didn't have a cheating scandal to revive interest. They weren't faking breakups for Instagram traffic. And their version of reality started making the rest of the show look too artificial in comparison. That creates a quiet threat. When fans see what a healthy couple looks like and then go back to watching chaos being rewarded season after season, the contrast becomes uncomfortable. And slowly, the network's strategy starts to crack in the eyes of its most loyal viewers. So rather than fix the show, they remove the mirror. Get rid of the couple reminding people what the franchise used to care about. Sell the fiction harder. Sameness over authenticity. Shock factor over sincerity. And honestly, the audience feels it. The newer couples might bring drama, but they don't bring longevity. Storylines implode within months. Viewers stop caring mid-season. Fan commentary becomes more cynical. Because there's no center anymore. No couple reminding people that love doesn't have to be shouted into submission to survive. Loren and Alexei were that center. And now, they're gone. Their removal isn't just an editorial decision. It's symbolic. It confirms what many longtime fans have felt simmering for years, that 90 Day stopped being a docuseries about cross-border love and started becoming a reality soap with passports. And that shift? It's unsustainable. Drama without contrast gets exhausting. Peaks require valleys. Outrage only shocks when it's not the constant baseline. And by slowly deleting its most stable characters, TLC may have shaken loose the very emotional grounding that held it all together. Some industry insiders have described TLC's casting pipeline as use and rotate. It's not about building ongoing stories. It's about finding the next new face to blow up online for a few weeks, max out engagement, and then make room for someone even more unfiltered. But do characters like that build value over time? Do they create emotional attachment strong enough to keep an audience that isn't there just for memes, but for meaning? Loren and Alexei gave meaning. They gave structure. They represented the part of the fandom that believed maybe, not always, but maybe, this whole insane process could lead to something real. And by disappearing them without dignity, the franchise lost more than a couple. It lost credibility. That's not something you get back easily. What message does it send to future cast members when being stable, respectful, and real makes you more disposable than being toxic on camera? This story isn't over. It can't be. Because the silence around Loren and Alexei isn't just a weird mystery or a scheduling fluke. It's a signal. It's a shift you can feel if you've been watching long enough. A pattern you might have missed until now, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. This was never random. This was tested, calculated, measured. And if Loren and Alexei, a couple so foundational they were invited back season after season, even during the franchise's international pivots, can be removed without explanation, that should make every fan pause. They weren't just early breakouts. They were the proof the model could work. TLC loved flashing them as success stories. Used them in ads, anniversaries, all the fluff reels promoting how love finds a way, even on reality TV. And yet, they disappeared without even a lazy Instagram carousel from the network to say goodbye. That doesn't happen by accident. That's institutional muscle. And it tells us something darker. The exit strategy wasn't created retroactively. It already existed. They were just the first clean test. Now that playbook is live. Quiet them. Don't renew them. Let the fans scroll until they forget. And focus attention on the next relatable disaster couple. It works because it doesn't feel aggressive. There's no firing, no fight, no statement. It's passive control, hidden under the idea that maybe they chose to walk away. But anyone who's watched how this show operates behind the scenes can connect the dots. This isn't walking away. It's being cleared out, strategically and silently. And that silence, it has power. It makes room for speculation, doubt, fresh edits. It keeps all the narratives under control because there's no one on record to contradict them. It keeps fans waiting for a moment that's never coming, a reunion, a confession, a plot twist, to fix the gap. But with TLC, the gap is the point. The lack of resolution is what protects them. Closure gets questioned. Silence fades eventually. Until it doesn't. Because now, people are talking. Connecting names, matching timelines, watching which cast members slowly shift from center frame to background blur. Who stops posting behind-the-scenes shots? Who suddenly skips the tell-alls? Who avoids interviews with no comment energy? There's a list growing. And it's not just older couples fading out naturally. It's newer ones too. Audience favorite pairs who seemed like future core cast, suddenly on ice. If this playbook stays in rotation, Lorenzo and Alexei weren't the only test. They were the prototype. The system is already scanning for the next peaceful threat to deprioritize. So, what's left now for fans? Eyes open. Watch who's missing next season. Rewatch scenes from couples who quietly faded and see if the signs were planted earlier than anyone noticed. Look at who's promoting, and more importantly, who isn't. Pay attention to silence. It speaks louder than the taglines ever could. And for anyone still on screen, here's the unspoken tension. Longevity doesn't protect you. Respect doesn't guarantee airtime. Being stable might actually make you more expendable. The irony is brutal. The more you avoid scandal, the more you're skipped by the speed-driven engine that demands new spectacle every month. So it creates a pressure vacuum. Either manufacture chaos or watch your time run out. This machine feeds itself. Every time a couple gets removed without fanfare, it resets the bar lower for how much emotional payoff viewers can expect. It shrinks how seriously we take the long-haul stories. And it teaches new viewers one dangerous lesson: don't get too attached. Because those storylines don't last. That's not reality. It's rotation. And where does that leave people like Loren and Alexei, hanging in the memory of old fans, quietly building lives away from the camera, while the machine that once broadcast their every milestone acts like they were never there? Still posting, still raising their kids, still being the exact people we watched grow for years, minus the TLC filter. Which, ironically, might be more authentic than anything airing now. Their absence cracked something open. And it can't be sealed with another chaotic new couple packed with red flags and confessionals. The viewers are catching on. The silence doesn't feel subtle anymore. It feels intentional. And once that idea catches fire across the fandom, it changes how everyone watches. Trust softens. Loyalty slips. Because what story are we actually watching? Authentic love, or casting edits shifting with the algorithm? And now that trust? It's shifting somewhere else. Viewers follow these cast members to social media, hoping for real updates, sincere evolution, side stories the show skips. TLC doesn't own that space. And maybe that's where the most honest version of these couples now lives. And here's where things heat up even more. Because if Loren and Alexei were removed quietly, what's happening with other couples right now who've suddenly gone radio silent? There's one pair in particular, still fresh, still beloved, that's starting to show similar signs. Skipped cameos, fewer posts, tighter captions, no confirmation of filming. Are we about to see the same playbook get run again? Because if you've been paying attention to the eyebrow-raising gaps around Elizabeth and Andre, it's starting to feel familiar. Too familiar. Could the same shadow exit be loading for them? Or are they pivoting before the silence closes in? Make sure to check out my full breakdown of where that storyline could be going next and why TLC's cautious approach with their arc has fans speculating that another quiet goodbye may already be underway. The question isn't, will it happen again? It's who's next. And if you're not watching the background closely, you'll miss when the next exit starts and ends without a single word.